The School of Hard Knocks 20 took place at the Cypress Center in Medicine Hat. Professional and amateur fighters from across Canada battled it out in the Hard Knocks cage.
Welcome to the School of Hard Knocks.
We move on now to the amateur main events, and both of these fights are title fights. And as we switch over now, and if you get a good shot of me, you will see me here with what they're going for. This is the 155-pound amateur belt that Fotis Lambiris and Scott McDonald are going to be fighting over. And Ryan, when a belt's on the line, something just seems to come out of you.
Yeah, it's always nice to get a championship strap around your waist, and these two fighters, I'm sure, both of them saying that they were going to take a little extra added motivation, knowing that they were coming in fighting for a title, knowing that at the end of the night they get to wear this to the after party at Ralph's Bar and Steakhouse, knowing that they get to go around and parade around the bar with championship silver around their waist. Both of these guys very eager to get this belt.
And looks like we're ready to go on to our amateur co-main event of the evening. We're going to go to the center of the cage with Jay Denance.
Ladies and gentlemen, this School of Hard Knocks fight is our first title fight of the evening. This bout is an amateur bout in the 155-pound division and is brought to you by Variperm Canada. And now, let's meet the fighters.
So our amateur co-main event coming up as we see Scott McDonald making his way down towards the cage. As again, 155 pounds, Scott McDonald coming into this fight 3-0 as an amateur, but says he did some time looking at the game tape for these fighters and specifically looking at the game tape of Fotis Lambiris, and says that he felt he beat his opponents quickly, but that Scott feels he will offer significantly more resistance to his opponent than he's used to.
Well, Fotis Lambiris is a grappler first, and Scott McDonald knows this and has been working with his gym and Knuckles Gym and Max Marin, and working on that takedown defense. He's expecting Fotis to come in immediately and try for the grappling. He doesn't think that he hits hard. Scott McDonald doesn't think that he's a hard hitter, but apparently his opponents disagree, as he's 3-0 as an amateur.
Yeah, 3-0 as an amateur, and said that all of his opponents have tried to take the fight to the ground, and obviously none of them have had any success there. Won his last fight by a decision, and an interesting mentality, Jeremy, when it comes to mistakes.
Yeah, he's looking to, look to make sure that at this high level to not make any mistakes. Mistakes can cost you this fight, and that's an important thing, especially going into a title fight. You have to be mistake-free, and that is an important thing for every fighter at this high level.
Yeah, Fotis, a hometown boy here from Medicine Hat. Shouldn't say boy, a hometown man I guess, from here in Red Deer, and he expects to have the crowd behind him, or Medicine Hat rather. He expects to have the crowd behind him, but he said if he punches, Scott McDonald saying if he punches Fotis hard enough, he'll make the crowd go ooh, and that's as good as getting cheered, because he knows that he won't be the favorite against a Medicine Hat fighter.
Well, of course, if Fotis Lambiris comes in with 30 to 40 people that came specifically to watch him fight, he also, talking about fighters at the amateur levels are having another job because they don't get paid for this. They do it for the joy and to get better. Fotis is actually coaching a high school wrestling team that are at the provincial championships this weekend, and in speaking with him right before, apparently are missing their coach, being in the corner yelling for them.
Yeah, again, a very high-level wrestler is Fotis Lambiris, and so it'll be interesting to see if he takes that style of fight to Scott McDonald and tries to get him to his ground. He says he knows he has to circle away from Scott's right hand. Says that he knows that that's where Scott's power comes from. That's what he's exhibited in his fight so far, and so he expects that Scott will try and throw that right. So unlike the most famous example of Michael Bisping walking into Dan Henderson's right hand, Fotis gave that example last night as what not to do when you know your opponent has a big right hand.
And we go to Jay Nance with the official announcements.
And now the official Hard Knocks fighter introductions. In the first on-site Restoration blue corner, he's 3-0 as an amateur and weighed in at 154 1/2 pounds. Fighting out of Canuckles from Calgary, please welcome Hard Knocks fighter Scott McDonald. And in the Ralph's Texas Bar and Steakhouse red corner, he's 2-0 as an amateur and weighed in at 155 1/2 pounds. Fighting out of Underground Training Center from Medicine Hat, please welcome Hard Knocks fighter Fotis Lambiris. This bout will be contested under amateur rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Mark Aparicio.
Can I have fighters to center? Okay, gentlemen, been over the rules in the dressing room. I want you to fight fair, fight hard, and obey my commands at all times. You want to touch gloves? Do it now.
So Fotis Lambiris in the green trunks out of the red corner, black and white trunks for Scott McDonald out of the blue corner. Our title fight is just about underway. Again, a reminder, this fight can go 5 full 3-minute rounds with the 90-second rest in between, and we are underway with our first amateur title fight of the night.
Just another reminder with the amateur rules with the no elbows or knees to the head at any time, no twisting leg locks or anything like that. So just so viewers are aware that we are under amateur rules, but full ground and pound in play, unlike the Calgary Commission. The Medicine Hat Commission does allow that.
Both fighters being very cautious, as you might expect, undefeated, and so not willing to jump in and run at their opponent.
Now, a great example of cage control there by Fotis Lambiris. He was about to be pushed in the cage by Scott McDonald and immediately used something they use in wrestling when you get pushed up against the edge. This is a pure wrestling attack right now by Fotis Lambiris.
And Scott McDonald said he expected Fotis to want to go to the ground immediately, and a nice suplex there from Fotis Lambiris, and he lands a couple more punches on the way as he is in full control of this fight in the early going.
Yeah, trying to do some extra work. The thing that's troubling here is those suplexes require a lot of energy to do correctly, and Fotis needs to be careful that he doesn't end up in a bad position as Scott McDonald is starting to put his legs onto the inside to disrupt that movement. Well, half Nelson action there.
Rolling out from the position that had Fotis on his back was Scott McDonald, but Fotis now finds himself in the half guard, and trying to work and move forward with that is Fotis Lambiris on top of Scott McDonald.
Yeah, continuing to work and get a good position. Scott McDonald doing a good job in preventing Fotis Lambiris from getting to a position which he can strike, but Fotis is willing and happy to be dropping those knees into the side.
Again, The Medicine Hat Commission does allow strikes to the head of a downed opponent, so you may see that here where you may not have in other amateur Hard Knocks events.
And again, this is good technique here by Scott McDonald. By putting that heel up on the knee, he's preventing Fotis Lambiris from stepping over into a mount position. So that's what that defense is, and you'll see that very often at the highest levels. So great jiu-jitsu defense here, shown off by Scott McDonald.
Very quick spinning as Fotis Lambiris lands a nice right hand into the side of the head of Scott McDonald, who has spent most of this round underneath Fotis Lambiris.
Yeah, and Scott McDonald right here as a wrestler would be trying to do a gut wrench and score 2 points. But it's a big thing here to be able to drop those bombs. And there, Fotis Lambiris got an ooh of his own as he rained down a big shot on Scott McDonald.
Just a few seconds left now in round number 1. Another big right hand, trying to follow that with a left. McDonald anticipates and rolls back out onto his back, and it takes away that dominant position from Fotis Lambiris.
And that's the end of the round, and it looks like Fotis Lambiris is going to win this first one just by some cage control. But again, up to 5 3-minute rounds, so that's how these title fights go. So
both fighters eager, creeping towards center to get to the second round. And Scott McDonald now back on his feet. We'll see if he can do anything to the striking, as again, Fotis did move around, move away, but trying now for the standing guillotine, although he's not standing anymore. Climbing up Fotis Lambiris, trying to get a guillotine. We'll see Fotis with a big slam down here in front of us. You could feel that one on the table as Fotis Lambiris breaks the guillotine definitively.
Extremely intelligent wrestling by Fotis Lambiris. Had he taken down that double leg right at the beginning, he would have ended up in a vicious guillotine choke. As it was, he took that time to get to the position where when he took it down, he could end up in side control, which is not enough torque to be able to finish a guillotine choke by Scott McDonald. Amazing, amazing technical wrestling by Fotis Lambiris.
Doing a very effective job of keeping Scott McDonald on the ground. McDonald said his coaches felt his ground game was adequate going into this fight and worked on his striking. And so far, Fotis Lambiris putting that affirmation to the test.
Yeah, you look at Fotis Lambiris just getting into side control, which is where every wrestler wants to be because that's where they're used to working from, trying to keep a guy on his back and pinning him. Fotis is starting to, this round, get a few more strikes in, something he didn't do very much in the first round, as he tries to now do some body strikes as well to soften up Scott McDonald.
McDonald's arm was isolated, now he's tucked it in, but Lambiris still dropping elbows and punches to the side, to the midsection of Scott McDonald.
5 rounds of heavyweight action here. We're down to heavyweight. 5 rounds of lightweight action as we're down to our 1:05 in the second round. And Fotis Lambiris has done a great job staying on top in good, solid position, chest to chest, and he continues to rain down punches as they're convenient for him in this control position.
Yeah, a dominant performance thus far from Lambiris when it comes to cage control. It's been him on top for nearly 6 minutes now, as we only have 40 seconds left in round number 2, but he continues to drop elbows and punches and land those, and now a knee to the side of Scott McDonald, some more elbows. Fotis Lambiris striking at will here on top of Scott McDonald, who's finding himself in a very unusual position. Normally, McDonald is in control in this spot. Hasn't really found himself on his back this much in his brief amateur career, but so far doing a good job of intelligently defending. I wouldn't say that Lambiris has landed a lot of really damaging shots, but in the meantime, a very dominant round here again from Fotis Lambiris.
It definitely takes a little bit out of you to have a guy lying on top of you like that. And you can see that Scott McDonald is having a little bit of heavy breaths there.
Very effective wrestling skills on display here from Fotis Lambiris as we move into round 3 of our 155-pound amateur title fight here in the co-main event.
Yeah, the 155-pound amateur title on the line. One of these guys is going to end this night as a champion at 155. And some better striking here by Scott McDonald, and he's trying to keep Fotis Lambiris at a distance.
Again, trying a better job of sprawling there, getting Lambiris up against the cage briefly, but Lambiris does now have a leg, and another slam from Fotis Lambiris as he secures the single leg takedown and winds up again in the guard of Scott McDonald. Wobbled him with that punch, seems like, but McDonald seems to have recovered quickly, throws him to the side, trying to get the mount, and ends up in a north-south.
Yeah, he's going to work this north-south until those knees come through. As soon as those knees come through, he'll get to side control, just as he did there. Again, Fotis Lambiris, it'll be very difficult for Scott McDonald to get off his back when Fotis Lambiris is in side control. It's just something that wrestlers do every day of training, and Fotis wrestled for more than 10 years. And so he's got that as a condition response. Now you look at Scott McDonald trying to work up, maybe Fotis Lambiris trying to do a new technique here as he's landing some great shots in there.
Yeah, made a nice left hand come through, and now the right comes through as well as Fotis Lambiris again has the back of Scott McDonald. McDonald grabbing onto one hand at a time, and when he does, the other one comes free to land a punch on Scott McDonald.
Yeah, and none of these are doing a lot of damage. It doesn't look like Scott McDonald is hurting other than that one blow, which seemed to rock him. But again, he's scoring lots of points in judges' scorecards right now.
Yeah, again, for the third consecutive round, he's on top after another slam. We've seen a suplex and two slams from Fotis Lambiris. Very, if you're looking to make the poster of a Hard Knocks event, slamming your opponent in that fashion is a good way to do it.
Well, what? The two of us could make a poster one of these days.
Coming out again, Fotis Lambiris dropping a punch on the face of Scott McDonald. And like you mentioned earlier, Jeremy, just timing his strikes, waiting for the opportunity, finding a hole and driving it in there. But in the meantime, the jiu-jitsu of defense of Scott McDonald, very effective. He hasn't allowed Fotis Lambiris to advance beyond side control. Once Lambiris gets into side control, there's nowhere for him to go.
And this is a style that Fotis Lambiris is doing that's made famous by Georges St. Pierre. Not necessarily looking to end the fight at all times, but looking to control the fight. Endings come from control, and that's what he's trying to do now. And again, a little bit of a leg hook there as he tries to go for that soup, and it doesn't look like anything's going to happen at the end of this round. But another dominant round by Fotis Lambiris.
Yeah, you could see Fotis look to see whether or not he should end the round with a soup, but a nice defense there from Scott McDonald, preventing the suplex by sweeping out the one leg and taking away that power base.
Yeah, all you need to do to disrupt a suplex, which is why it's so rare in amateur wrestling. You don't see it all that often. You might get one a tournament, and that's at the highest levels. Here we're going to have a look. He gets in on the leg attack. Great defense by Scott McDonald, pushing him towards the cage. Fotis Lambiris is tenacious. You can see him drop down. He's going to pick up a single leg. As he pops it up with his head to the outside, he's in a good power base, and he's able to slam. And great technique by Fotis Lambiris. If you look at Scott McDonald, what he needs to do is he needs to push the head to the inside, switch it to a single leg so he can whizzer down and get his leg free.
And so far, so good for Fotis Lambiris. But as we know in mixed martial arts, as we've seen tonight, one punch can be the fight. As we saw tonight with Mitchell Carlson getting a knockout in just 13 seconds, we know Scott McDonald has that kind of power in his hands, and we'll see whether or not he's able to exhibit it here, or if Fotis Lambiris goes right back to work, taking McDonald down and working his ground game.
Yeah, you look at Fotis Lambiris again. He's got a good boxing style, good boxing stance, but he immediately switches to a wrestling stance right before he's about to switch. You watch that stance square up before he's about to attack.
And staying true to his word, circling away from the right hand of McDonald.
Good defense there. Fast feet, being able to get his legs back. Excellent job by Scott McDonald. He wants to keep this in a striking range. And there's a big shot, but I don't think it landed very cleanly.
No, again, Scott McDonald trying everything he can in the black and white trunks to disrupt the rhythm of Fotis Lambiris, who may be looking at this round as an opportunity to catch his breath again into the championship rounds here in Medicine Hat, as we are watching the fight for the 155-pound amateur title.
You watch Scott McDonald leads that front leg pretty forward there. You'll look at Fotis, if he's going to try a takedown, it's always going to start with that leg. He's always going to attack that leg first. But these two guys, again, you get into these rounds and you don't want to make any mistakes. And you can see at that point, that's where they're at right now. I don't want to make a mistake.
McDonald threatening the right hand but not throwing it, and at this point hasn't done much in this round to sway the judges. When you've got a round that pretty much at this point it's been a minute and a half of creative dancing as they've gone back and forth.
There's a leg kick.
As probably the second strike of the round lands, as both these fighters not really doing much to indicate to the judges that they deserve to win the round.
I don't know if they do 10-10 matches or 9-9, because I don't think either one of them is one around. You got to get in here. There's only 1 minute remaining in this amateur thing, but again, mistakes are not what these guys want to do, and that's how they're both undefeated at this point. They don't want to make a mistake.
And Fotis looking up and checking the clock, 51 seconds remaining in the round. Eats a right hand from McDonald, but does keep coming forward.
Yeah, and Fotis doesn't need to come forward at this point. I think he can be comfortably assured that he won the first 3 rounds. He doesn't need to come forward. Scott McDonald needs to let caution go of the win here. He needs to win by either a 10-8 score to make it a draw, or he needs to finish this fight before the end. So Scott McDonald should be coming forward a lot more than this.
And again, maybe trying to conserve some energy for a 5th and final round pushback as well. Regain some of his stamina, get that second wind, if you will. And you see him now trying to fight off Fotis Lambiris with just a couple seconds left here in round number 4 as just the 10-second clapper goes, and we'll see how this round finishes up. But again, Fotis Lambiris has Scott McDonald up against the cage and throws a big hand right as it comes to a close, but it didn't really connect. Missed by just a little bit, enough that Scott McDonald able to shake it off.
Yeah, and hopefully this 5th round is a little more entertaining than the 4th. I know these guys have been pushing forward and need to rest in there, and are maybe both conserving for a 5th round. But Scott McDonald right now, he has to leave caution to the wind, because at this point, first 3 rounds definitely Fotis Lambiris, and round 4 could have gone either way. You never know what's going to go that way. So he must come forward and must try and finish this fight with his hands or by taking him down and choking him out.
Hey, he's got to finish the fight. You're absolutely right. Fotis Lambiris now in the corner, I'm sure getting words from his coaches akin to the idea that he's got to survive this round to win this fight. And I mean, by no means are they telling him not to try and finish the fight, but at this point, you know, you just have to get through the end of the round to look at putting a strap around your waist.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, is this championship belt. 3 minutes to go, and we're going to see who our champion is at 155 pounds.
5 rounds, the 5th round now underway as Fotis Lambiris again tries to work the takedown. Had the single leg, well defended that time by McDonald, who shakes him off.
Yeah, excellent job. And there's a well-timed attack, and there's a takedown. And at this time, you're going to look at Fotis Lambiris. He's going to stay in this position. He's not going to try to risk anything at this point.
Right back into side control goes Fotis Lambiris, and it's a tough spot for Scott McDonald because at this point, from what we've seen, he's just able to hold him down at this point for another 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and this fight not only will be over because of the clock, but Scott McDonald won't have any chance at winning it unless he secures a submission, which is tough to do when your opponent's already in side control.
Especially with someone like Fotis Lambiris, who again, with his wrestling training, has been here. He's been here in this position for hours and hours and hours. You cannot imagine how much a wrestler works this position and keeping somebody on the ground. And Fotis Lambiris showing why he's winning this fight just by his ability to control it.
And again, continuing to land strikes, staying busy on the top. Very key, of course, to the referee not standing them up and giving Scott McDonald that puncher's chance. As long as he continues landing strikes, the referee will have to let the fight continue. And now transitioning to Scott McDonald's back. McDonald trying an escape and gets up. And another throw, another suplex from Fotis Lambiris. A little icing on the cake for the fans as he throws him down and winds right back inside control.
Yeah, great job controlling, and you can't say enough about Fotis Lambiris' wrestling ability and being able to keep Scott McDonald down. Now Scott McDonald, assuming this fight continues the way it is with 1 minute remaining now, Scott McDonald now knows what he has to work on. He's got to find a very good wrestler, and he needs to work with him over and over and over again.
And again, Lambiris trying to jump up on the back of McDonald, looking for a choke, checking the time. Again, very intelligent fighter, making sure that he knows exactly how much time is remaining in the fight and how much time he's going to need to continue to hold Scott McDonald on the ground.
Well, that university education must have gone for something.
Again, more strikes coming, and McDonald gets up just to find himself thrown right back down to the ground. Fotis Lambiris has put on a wrestling clinic here in our co-main event of the evening.
Down to 15 seconds now with these two guys, and I think we can be honest and say that Fotis Lambiris is going to win the championship at 155 pounds, but we'll see what those judges' scorecards say.
The first 155-pound amateur champion, it will be Fotis Lambiris unless there is an absolute travesty, as he worked 5 rounds of dominant wrestling to a championship victory.
And if he doesn't win by decision at this point, I think I'm going to tweet Dana White and say, I gotta judge his folly for you. But Fotis Lambiris, fantastic job as he showed his great wrestling, great control, and won this fight in dominant fashion. He probably won every single round. If not, he won 4 of 5 for sure. And fantastic job as he comes over and he mentions his wrestling here to me as I'm a wrestler and actually wrestled against Fotis' team back in university. And again, dominant performance by Lambiris, and we're just going to see how those judges' scorecards come out. There's Ari Tobe. He's the president, CEO, and owner of Hard Knocks Fighting, showing off the 155 belt. He's looking forward to putting around the waist of the winner, who, unless a miracle happens on those scorecards, going to be Fotis Lambiris. Looks like we have the official decision in as we go into the cage for the announcer for the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship, Jay Denance.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now have the official decision brought to you by Veriperm Canada. The winner by unanimous decision in the red corner, Fotis Lambiris!
Fotis Lambiris, your new 155-pound champion for the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship, amateur champion. Getting a congratulations
Fotis,
from Maurice with Ryan.
how good does that title feel around your waist?
Feels awesome.
Now, you've got, you're a high school wrestling coach, and if anybody's looking to see how wrestling should be done, you just put on a clinic.
Wrestling, honestly, I think is the backbone to mixed martial arts. You can even see at the UFC level, right? All the top guys are ex-college wrestlers.
Now, you had, I think, 3 soups and 2 pretty big slams in that fight. Was that the game plan coming in to work your wrestling as hard as you could?
Yeah, the game plan was to use my wrestling, but also Mike Boulin, he's my corner guy, he broke down some video on Scott, and he always had me, he works with my boxing, always had me going to the right, staying away from his power hand. So a lot of wrestling, but some boxing too.
So now 155-pound champion must sound good, but they say that you're not the champion until you defend it. How long are we going to have to wait to see that?
Honestly, as soon as possible. I'm ready to defend it, so.
All right, and I'm sure you got some coaches and sponsors to thank?
Yeah, I want to thank all my coaches, all my training partners, my corner guys, Mike Boulin, Terry Nickel, Tom Wild, my girlfriend Shannon for, putting up with all my shit when I fight. I never get to see her. And lethalclothing.ca, they sponsored me to come down here. And I want to thank all the fans for spending their hard work and money to come out here and watch the fights.
One more time for your champion, Fotis Lambiris.
Hard Knocks Fighting, live MMA action. find the next Hard Knocks event in your city, please visit hardknocksfighting.com.
This School of Hard Knocks fight is an amateur title fight and is in the 185-pound division and is brought to you by Essential Energy Services, providing oil field services to oil and gas producers in Western Canada. And now, let's meet the fighters.
So coming down to the cage first here in our co-main event of the evening, fighting for our 185-pound amateur championship, we see Barrett Thompson. And the last time we were here in Medicine Hat, his brother Todd fought a 5-round war against Riley Molyneux, and this time it's Barrett trying to win himself a title as he takes on Mike Gear.
Yeah, and Barrett Thompson from La Ronge, Saskatchewan, member of the LA Warriors, he knows that Mike's coming here to bang. Mike here is a guy who's able to do that, but Barrett Thompson has a judo background, has a wrestling background, so he's looking to be able to weather the storm of Mike here, weather those shots, and when you see Mike here, you'll understand what I mean by a storm, because Mike here is a monster, but Barrett Thompson's going to weather that and try and use his wrestling and judo to his advantage.
And he says he knows that the hometown fans will be in favor of Mike Gear, who trains at the Underground Training Center here in Medicine Hat. But he said all of northern Saskatchewan is behind him. They may not be here, but they're here in his heart, and they know that they're rooting for him to bring home a title, and says that's a significant added motivation for him stepping in as a 3-1 amateur.
Yeah, 3-1. He's had some tough opponents, and is well deserved to be here in his championship fight. You'll see he's very calm and composed in the cage, and again has the pedigree with his brother fighting for a championship in the past.
Yeah, younger brother Todd unsuccessful in his title fight attempt. Barrett Thompson will be trying to bring home the family's first belt. 29 years old. His only loss, an interesting story. He says that the fight was intended to be an exhibition match that got changed to a sanctioned fight late. He didn't really train for it. He thought it was just, again, an exhibition where it wouldn't count, and so he didn't put the work in, didn't try, found himself on the wrong end of a rear naked choke.
Coming down now, the hometown boy, and you can hear the crowd really get into it. This is Mike Gear from the Underground Training Center here in Medicine Hat. You know, he finds the toughest part about fighting is cutting down without losing the muscle mass and the strength that are the cornerstone of his game.
Well, we did see Mike Gear first at 205. Then we saw him fight at 195. And now we're where he says he wants to be, which is at 185 pounds. So he said that it's not necessarily having the discipline to cut down, to walk by the junk food in the grocery store. He is a nutritionist. He knows what it's going to take to get himself down to the weight. It's the self-discipline that he says is the hardest part of his cut-down diet. And, he's on a 2-fight win streak now. Won in the first round of his last fight by TKO, and is really starting to progress as a fighter. He wants to go a long way and feels that he believes with 100% of his being that he belongs in this fight, and he belongs to be fighting for a title despite only having 3 fights as an amateur.
Yeah, and Mike here thinks that the toughest part about fighting, besides the weight cut, is the mental aspect of it. It is very difficult to get yourself to the gym every day, because when you're in a good gym, you get hurt every single practice. It's not even a question. You get hurt, and you got to come back, wake up in the morning, go work at your job, have a family life, and still continue to go to practice every day to get to the point where Mike Gear wants to be.
And Mike Gear also telling me that not only that, but it's the social media aspect that is changing the trash talk game.
And now for the official Hard Knocks fighter introductions. In the first on-site Restoration blue corner, he's 3-1 as an amateur and weighed in at 185 1/2 pounds. Fighting out of LA Warriors from La Ronge, Saskatchewan, please welcome Hard Knocks fighter Barrett Too Cool Thompson. And in the Ralph's Texas Bar and Steakhouse red corner, he's 2-1 as an amateur and weighed in at 186 pounds. Fighting out of Underground Training Center from Medicine Hat, please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Mike Gear! This bout will be contested under amateur rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Mark Aparicio.
Fighters to center. Okay, guys, you both know the rules. I want you to fight fair and fight hard. Obey my commands at all times. If you want to touch them up, do it now. Back to your corner.
Gear in the black trunks out of the red corner, white trunks out of the blue corner for Barrett Thompson as these two 185-pounders get set to go. A 3-inch height advantage for Barrett Thompson. Mike Gear, the much larger upper body build on the smaller fighter as he looks to get in, and a big kick early from Barrett Thompson.
Yeah, showing off that well-rounded game that Barrett Thompson has. Great check of a kick there by Barrett Thompson, and then another nice kick. Very good leg work early.
Gear coming forward. It's interesting, in talking to Barrett Thompson, never been knocked out, and he said he's been hit with a variety of things in his life and have been in several car wrecks and everything else. Says he's never been knocked out once, doesn't expect to be knocked out again here tonight, and almost leading with that chin out front.
Yeah, when you're tough and you're invincible, you look at a guy like Chuck Liddell, who never, ever, ever got knocked out. And when it happens the first time, it does change you. But until then, you have what's called a granite chin. Rampage Jackson, another guy with a granite chin. So Barrett Thompson in good company there if he's not afraid to get knocked out by a big shot.
Gear finds himself now with the back of Thompson, trying to work it into a more dominant position, landing strikes from the side, hearing it from the crowd, and trying to throw Thompson to the ground, and does. Powering through is Mike Gear, a big shot to the body there, and that couldn't have felt good.
Yeah, and a knee right to the jaw as well.
Yeah, and that, again, amateur rules, no knees to the head of an opponent. Did catch him in the jaw. He will get time to recover. Mike Gear will have to head to the neutral corner, and it looks like he may see a point deducted here. We'll see if the official ends up going to the judges, and he is bringing the fighters back to center. No point deducted from Mike Gear there, but he did receive a warning, throwing the big knee, and Barrett Thompson recovering, trying to throw the back kick to Mike Gear, but Gear not getting in that range. Knocks down Thompson with a big right hand, and he's continuing to throw punches, but Barrett Thompson eager to the task as he comes forward with a knee of his own. Both fighters landing big punches here and trading and smiling as they head back towards one another.
And they are feeding off of this crowd here in Medicine Hat. Mike Gear, the hometown boy, but I can imagine that a few of those cheers might be for Barrett Thompson because he took 3 huge monster bombs and he kept on coming. And they're going right back to the game, throwing leg kicks.
Said he'd never been knocked out, proving he can take a punch or two there as he ate everything Mike Gear could feed him and just kept coming forward.
Yeah, you look at Barrett Thompson, very tough, and he landed a few shots of his own. Like it was a fair exchange at one point. Mike Gear getting a bit of a better of it at the end, but Barrett Thompson checking in and using those legs to his advantage.
Thompson lands a nice right hand as Gear gets away from the exchange. Thompson working the kicks more effectively than Gear to this point, but when Gear gets inside, he's landing the bigger of the 2 strikes.
Yeah, well, Gear's a big guy, so you can imagine that this is down. There's 2 more huge shots, and Barrett Thompson is hanging in there. He looks like no worse for wear, like you can't hurt me.
And Thompson trying the front kick, spinning over, big fist just shortly after the bell. Not intended, was a follow through on the kick. Kicked over the head, came in with the spinning back fist,
A bit of a reaction from the crowd. It happened, I'm going to say, a half second late, but, hard to tell when you're in the cage exactly how long that 10 seconds is.
That was what really brought him down.
I'll give the spinning back fist the credit on that one.
Maybe a bit of
as
a
we
delay
get
reaction.
ready for round number 2 between Mike Gear in the black trunks out of the red corner and Barrett Thompson in the white trunks out of the blue corner. Championship action here at the School of Hard Knocks 20, presented by the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship.
Yeah, if every round's as entertaining as that one, we'll be in for a great fight.
Again, going forward, driving forward, landing punches is Mike Gear. Gamely coming right back at him, though. Barrett Thompson trying a throw, unable to do so, and tries to get him over to the cage. Again, a green belt in judo is Barrett Thompson. Mike Gear secures the takedown, but Thompson ends up on top.
Yeah, immediately switching, a little bit of a tug on the shorts there. But there's certain points where a guy who's had a wrestling background and a judo background like Barrett Thompson, where you know you're about to get taken down. So what are you going to do when you land? And that's what Barrett Thompson did. He knew he was about to get taken down by Mike Gear, so as soon as he was landing, he was already countering on the way down. Excellent technique there by Barrett Thompson.
Gear trying to come over the top with right hands. Barrett Thompson answering them with stiff jabs. Both of these fighters landing punches and keep coming forward. You gotta love this kind of action here in a championship fight.
Now, obviously not Foreman Ali, but you can see maybe the strategy of Barrett Thompson. He's taking some big shots, but those hands are now dropping on Mike Gear. This is a 5-round fight. There is so much time left in this fight. And if Barrett Thompson can go that whole way, Mike Gear is already sucking wind.
Gear is starting to breathe a little harder as he works towards it. Hard Knocks fans will have seen him fight in a fight before that got into the late rounds. The referee breaking them up to allow Barrett Thompson's mouthpiece to go back in. And looks like they're just going to give it a bit of a wash before they put it back in his mouth.
You never know what's on the mat, but you can hear everybody around us in the crowd saying, "Breathe, Mike, breathe," and trying to get some wind back into Mike Gear. Again, a big guy, and it takes a lot of oxygen and to run those muscles.
1,000 coaches in the crowd for Mike Gear advising him to breathe. Barrett Thompson gets his mouthpiece all rinsed up and comes out firing with a right hand. Gear pacing back forward. Again, Thompson very confident in his chin, maybe content to take these punches if he thinks he can tire Gear out.
Yeah, but you look at there's not the tiring out is not Mike Gear's only thing going on. Barrett Thompson is also tiring out. Those kicks that used to be super fast are now coming in quite slow. These punches are all loopy. This one is going to be a very interesting finish.
Well, and we've seen Mike Gear in one of these wars before where it took him to the end of the 3rd round and he was wobbled. And speaking of wobbled, here's Mike Gear chasing down Barrett Thompson, who seems to have been a little bit taken by one of the punches from Gear, as Gear now works the takedown and has Thompson up against the cage.
With 20 seconds to go, this is a great thing for Mike Gear because he's getting an opportunity. He's going to get an extra 20 seconds of rest here, as he's not going to push this action. He's just going to try and use this 20 seconds to win the round, and that's a nice way to put an emphasis in the judges' minds.
An exclamation point at the end of the round from Mike Gear as he lands a big shot on Barrett Thompson, who seems no worse for wear from taking it, though, as he makes his way to the corner. 90 seconds of rest for these two warriors as they get set for round number 3. Gear in the black trunks, Thompson in the white trunks, as we get set for round number 3 in our championship main event. Touching gloves at center, they both get set again in what has been a very entertaining exchange of punches from both fighters.
This one, although there are some elements of MMA in here, it looks more like a very, very trained street fight at this point, because these guys are just pounding one another.
And that was a very stiff right hand and answered back by Gear after Thompson landed the big one. And it looks like a low blow landed. Mike Gear certainly wincing like it was. And we've got a quick timeout here as Mike Gear will get a moment to recover. So both fighters suffering an illegal blow in this fight and getting a chance to recover. Of course, that also gives Barrett Thompson time to recover as well. Something that we saw in the first round with Mike Gear getting to recover after the knee to the jaw.
That's right. Well, it looks like they're right back at it. I figured he'd take a bit more time to rest so that we could, have a more entertaining fight. They get a fresh rest for themselves.
Well, he was allowed 5 minutes, took about one of those before getting back at it. And both these fighters starting to look exhausted as they've put everything into their opponent's chins to this point except for a knockout blow.
And we are at round 3. I'm waiting for round 4 and 5. They're going to start swinging like Rocky and Apollo Creed at that point.
Tried the big left hand, did Barrett Thompson. The stiff jab missed, and a big right swings up and catches. 2 big rights swinging up and catching Thompson, and he is not backing down as he keeps coming forward. I mean, he told me he couldn't be knocked out. I'm starting to believe it as he is eating huge punches from Mike Gear and just keeps coming forward.
He's also delivering some big shots. He's countering these shots with some straight rights and straight lefts that aren't the big loopers, and they don't make Mike Gear move back at all. But that head snaps back, and you can see the damage on Mike Gear's face. And there's another quick shot that landed very accurately on Mike Gear's face.
Mouth starting to build over Gear's left eye. Thompson landing that jab effectively there a couple times, and the blood now coming from the forehead of Mike Gear. And as we well know in MMA, when an opponent's face starts to bleed, that becomes the target. That's the place you want to hit him further to make it worse for him and make it harder for him to see.
Nice snap there. This is a big shot. The referee's going to watch, but it looks like a good intelligent defending by Barrett Thompson. Good snap on the leg kick on the way down. Barrett Thompson coming back up, and I'm just sitting here, and these guys, this is an entertaining fight.
Lands a big hand, does Barrett Thompson on the way out, getting a hand from the crowd. Mike Gear standing with his hands in his proverbial belt loops, wondering what he's going to have to do to put Barrett Thompson down for good. We saw it with Todd Thompson here in Medicine Hat a few months ago. I thought he'd been knocked out on 3 separate occasions, and every single time he got right back up. Barrett Thompson proving the older brother's chin is just as tough.
Yeah, we're down to our about 10 seconds left in the round now, and these 2 guys are getting psyched for the next round, it looks. And again, some nice punches being landed. I'm thinking that all these rounds have gone to Mike Gear so far, just because he's getting the bigger of the strikes. But 5 rounds in the championship fight, and wow, are these guys putting on a show.
Well, for the second straight fight, we'll head into championship rounds as Mike Gear and Barrett Thompson both hanging on the cage, gasping for air and wondering what it is they're going to have to do to finish this fight, because full credit, and we'll likely see the big right hand from Gear on the knockdown there. Oh no, a nice stiff jab from Barrett Thompson as Gear walks away at the end of round number 3. You can't say enough about how these 2 guys have competed thus far, and we have seen Mike Gear in a 3-round war before with Justin Schmidt, where he ended up just leaning up against Schmidt, and both of them would lean back and throw a punch and then lean in, and that's how the 3rd round ended. So we've seen this before from Mike Gear. He will not go down despite heavy punches, and Barrett Thompson proving equal to the task as he has landed some big shots and taken some very big shots of his own.
Barrett Thompson's nickname is Too Cool. This fight is too cool. This is amazing. These guys, the conditioning, screw it. The conditioning's not there. These guys are just throwing bombs at each other and will not go down. This is a fight.
So again, championship rounds here, round number 4, 3-minute rounds for the amateurs, and again, no knees or elbows to the head of an opponent, as well as no twisting leg locks. Although if this one goes to the ground, you can count me surprised.
Yeah, well, it might go to the ground. Mike Gear's been successful on 2 takedowns, and Barrett Thompson just gets up.
It hasn't stayed on the ground very long, I guess is what I mean. Yeah. Enough time to secure a twisting leg lock.
Yeah, of course. What's more to say? I think we should just shut up and let them fight.
Stiff kick there from Gear as Thompson comes forward, lands some punches. That conditioning may come into a factor. Both of them throwing big strikes, a knee coming dangerously close to Barrett Thompson's face for the second time, and that could have cost Mike Gear, as he's already had one. He's got to be careful he doesn't have another, or he may see a point deducted, which could be very valuable as this fight comes to a close.
And after each exchange that these guys have, they look at each other and give each other
a nod.
Good job, good job. We like this. And as commentators here, it's enjoyable to watch a fight like this because both of these guys have no quit in them. Absolutely phenomenal tenacity, I guess is the best way to put it, is both these guys continue to fight.
Softer kicks coming from both as they both land a stiff jab that sends their opponent heading backwards.
Yeah, if we had one fighter come up to us and say, fight of the night, I think he might have lost at this point now.
Depending on how this one finishes, you may be right.
I don't
as
think
both these guys continue to throw punches, continue to throw kicks, and again, I mean, if you're Barrett Thompson's corner, you got to be telling me he's got to finish this fight, though, because he may be down 3 rounds at this point, despite having thrown some significant blows. Again, from an outsider's perspective, a big eyes and an ooh coming from Barrett Thompson after that punch. But again, I mean, he's eating huge right hands from an enormous man, and he is not flinching.
Well,
he's continuing to go forward.
That one hit him in the neck, and I think that was the big thing, is you just punched me in the neck. I'm coming back. And so Mike Gear's response is, I'm just going to punch you really hard.
Barrett Thompson just looked with rage at Mike Gear, saying, give me what you got, my chin can take it, and that has been accurate thus far. Now blood on the face of Barrett Thompson, blood pouring from the mouth of Mike Gear. These two guys have everything and to go here, and they continue to fight with just 5 seconds now remaining in round number 4. We're going to go to a 5th and final round, and you couldn't ask for much more from your main event.
This is an amazing battle, and the fans are going nuts.
Fans are on their feet around the cage here supporting these two warriors as they get ready for the 5th and final round. We'll have a 185-pound champion in 3 minutes or less.
Well, and we have the after party at Ralph's Texas Bar and Steakhouse, and if either of these guys are here, I'm going to be surprised, because as the swelling starts to catch up, these guys are going to be just a swollen mess.
Well, I'm sure the champ will be going to record his to take his victory strut around the after party. But what a fight between these two!
So here we go. It looks like they're about to get started. This is what every fighter, they talk about bottom of the 9th, 2 outs with a few guys on, and you got to hit a home run to win. This is it right now. Barrett Thompson is in home run territory, in my opinion. You're going to look, he's going to throw. He doesn't appear to be ability to be knocked out, and Mike Gear is trying to hold on, and these guys are just amazing fighters at this point.
Well, the crowd just chanting, Mike, Mike, Mike. Again, the hometown boy getting the love from the crowd, and Barrett Thompson getting the first left hand of the 5th round. Landed another stiff jab, but he may have to finish this fight if he wants to win those first 3 rounds. Despite his heavy blows of his own, he probably was on the wrong end of the judges' scorecards.
We talk about Barrett Thompson's chin. It's time to talk about Mike Gear's chin. He's taken some huge shots, and he's asking him, come on, fight me. It just reminds me, again, of those Rocky movies at this point, because what else is there to go? These guys, both of them should have been knocked out about 6 times by now, if not more.
Yeah, both these guys displaying an absolute will to win as they continue fighting. Mike Gear moving forward. Barrett Thompson counter-punching like the best of them as he continues to land punches. That one a hammer fist to the back of Mike Gear's ear, a big right hand, and a spinning back fist in response. And just now a slapping backhand. Didn't bother spinning with that backhand, just threw it at Gear. That one caught Thompson. He may have a granite chin. The ribs may be a different story as he took that one to the body and went off running.
Yeah, these two guys, you look at this crowd, if you talk about why MMA is so popular, you're looking at it right here. These two guys are just throwing at one another and showing charisma at the same time, and showing that all the exchanges between the two of them, the subtle exchanges, are what's making this fight that much more spectacular.
Both guys coming at it, 1 minute, 10 seconds remaining here in this main event of the evening. Title on the line, 185-pound amateur will go to one of these two men in less than a minute as they head towards the final seconds of our fifth and final round. Barrett Thompson coming forward, needing a right hand for his trouble as he keeps dancing around now, and Mike Gear cuts him off.
Yeah, these two guys are going at it, now throwing kicks, but I think Barrett Thompson, he's down. I think he might just be tired. He continues to go back up again. Wow, Barrett Thompson slipped on the sweat, and who's to blame him? There's a ton of it there. These guys are just trading. 24 seconds remain now.
Mike Gear looked confused when Barrett Thompson got up. He thought he might have done it, but confused and frustrated nevertheless. He has won this fight, or he may win this fight. The judges' scorecards, just 10 seconds to go in this fight as Mike Gear and Barrett Thompson, one of them will be your 185-pound champion as these two continue to fight to the bell. What a finish for these two warriors as they go the full distance. What a fight. You cannot ask for more in your main event.
That was a spectacular showing by both these men, and you look at Barrett Thompson on his knees, and somewhere he didn't end up for that whole fight. That was amazing. Those two guys were at it. You look at the medics checking them out right now, the doctor on Barrett Thompson's side, the medic on Mike Gear's side. Both of them are bleeding from the mouth, and we're going to go to a decision, and an amazing, amazing fight between these two guys. We look at the replay here. This is the fifth round. A kick, a huge shot there by Mike Gear, and down and slipping on some sweat, and right back up is Barrett Thompson. You cannot question the chin or the heart of both of these amazing fighters. So the official decision is in. We go to Jaden Ants, who's in the center of the cage.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now have the official decision brought to you by Essential Energy Services. The winner by unanimous decision in the red corner, Mike Gear!
Mike Gear, your new 185-pound champion. He's going to be in the center of the cage after Ari Toe puts on that belt. And Ari's going to say a few words
Guys,
first.
That was an amazing fight. That was the fight of the night. Build 360 out of Calgary has donated $500 to each club for fight of the night. Way to go, guys. Let's build on this one.
So fight of the night honors going to these gentlemen.
Mike, I'll get you in here, ask you a couple questions. Last night I talked to Barrett at the weigh-ins. He said, wow, not even a baseball bat could knock me out. I think he proved himself right. He took everything you could throw.
Yeah, he did. He's a tough kid, that's for sure. I'm impressed. Hands up for him.
It seemed like no matter how many right hands you had for him, he had an equivalent number for you. How good does it feel after going 5 full rounds to have that belt around your waist?
Feels pretty good, and surprising. After the first, I didn't know if I'd have 4 left in me, but I guess I surprised myself there.
I'm sure you got a lot of fans, sponsors, coaches to thank for your success tonight.
I do. I'd like to really thank the fans. I don't know if a lot of you are getting time to say how much I appreciate some of you guys driving a long ways to get here from Saskatchewan and all over, and it means a lot to me, and I just really appreciate it.
So now I'm pretty sure that all the fans can come out and party with you at the after party at Ralph's. We'll get you all fixed up, get you out there. You can parade around, take your victory lap. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for your winner and new champion, Mike Gear.
Fighting, live MMA action. To find the next Hard Knocks event in your city, please visit hardknocksfighting.com.